Welcome to the Soul Space. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Kim.
And these true life stories are brought to you to inspire growth, healing, and positive changes.
Enjoy. Hey Ryan, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for having me.
We've been trying to sort it for a while, haven't we? But we've got there.
Got there in the end, yeah.
We got there, yeah. So do you are you working in the day and then as well as Exhale and?
So at the moment, it's currently just Exhale.
Okay.
It's focusing a lot of time on Exhale, building up the brand a little bit, trying to get the bar off the ground, as you know, probably. We've been getting a lot of good feedback for the bar, so I think more energy is going to be going into that a bit more now.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I've sort of gone full time into Exhale.
Yeah. Okay. We'll do a little bit of your story we normally do, but then I want to go fully into explain to everyone what Exhale is and how it started. So how we normally work on the Soul Space, we tend to share a little bit of your soul story, so we try and get everyone on just to explain why, because there's normally a story to why you do what you do, like breath work. For me, there's a story, and it's normally full of a bit of challenges and pain.
Yeah, get that. Yeah.
We like the pain on here, and then we finish on the joy of what you're doing now and how we help others. So yeah, it's up to everyone how much they share, but it's just a little bit of your backstory, any challenges you've faced, and sort of any practices or spiritually anything which helped you. So the idea is if someone's at home listening to you, I mean, for example, I know you were a boxer, weren't you?
Yeah.
Still a boxer. So you might have a guy listening at home going through something. So the idea is they hear and then they're like, well, look at him now. That gives people a little bit of faith. So that's what I wanted from this podcast, really. As well as then to share what yourself's doing and what people are doing so they know it's out there. So, yeah, if you just want to have a little bit of a chat, like I say, anything that helped you, and then we tend to go into some of the stuff you're doing now. That's okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah?
I mean, where do you want to start? It goes back a bit,
one.
doesn't
This
it?
bit's always hard for people.
I suppose it probably starts when I was taking up sports and as a young man, leaving school, not really knowing which direction I was going in. It was sports that really took me down the path of, I suppose, health and well-being. I've always had, I've got a mother who's passionate about exercise, so she got me into it from a young age. So I've always had this sort of energetic force around me when it comes to exercise, sports and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, passionate about that. Went into boxing as a young boy. Wasn't really committed at that stage. It was just more for fun. And I suppose when you're a young lad as well, being a boxer and stuff like that, it's a bit more... I don't know. It's more exciting. It's more when you're stepping in as young boys, something that's quite fearful. It gets quite exciting. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a sort of that was the route that I took. Went into boxing. It wasn't full time. Wasn't anything serious. It was just, like I say, having fun, and I suppose the ego got involved a little bit as well. Anyway, along there, that period of time, I sort of probably slipped into bad habits. I was still working. I was working on the building, on the construction. And yeah, I think the surroundings and the people that I was around, I can't say it was totally their fault, but it never, it's all, you got yourself to look on all the time. But I found that I was sort of getting myself into situations that I didn't really want to be in. I was getting myself around certain people that were probably influencing me. I was always hanging around with the older crowd, so always surrounded by older people. And yeah, I found myself getting stuck into bad habits a little bit. And with that, it changes, I suppose, your character a little bit. It changes relationships around you. And, I wasn't able to sort of hold a relationship down with girls or anything like that. I was always going off here and there, trying to, I suppose, look for that other...
Fix.
I'd probably call it a fix, but it was more probably looking for that sort of release or that sort of... something that was going to give me some sort of spark to think, this
Maybe
is...
like a bit of a dopamine hit, 'cause I think as well when you're involved in sports, be it whether it was professional or not, whether it's boxing, you are sort of conditioned from a child to go for that adrenaline, a dopamine hit. You get a lot of attention when you win the fight. It's a rush. So it's known a lot even in sports. You see it a lot, don't you? That people that have been at the top of their game of football or boxing, they can turn to drink and things after because that rush is gone. Yeah,
I totally get that, and I think that's what it was. When I wasn't boxing, I was always looking for that adrenaline, and for me, that was, I suppose that's how I sort of got by. I was always on that sort of adrenaline kick. you know, my nervous system was always in constant stress, I suppose, as well. And yeah, like I said, it changes your character a little bit, of course, you know. And then when you start falling into these bad habits of drinking, drugs, or whatever it is, and abusing substances, then yeah, you soon start to find yourself going down a little bit of a steep hill. And yeah, got myself into a bit of a hole. Managed to pull myself out, luckily, through good role models that were around me at the time. And I actually went and trained for the Royal Marines after that. So one of the guys that I was working with, he was an ex-Royal Marine, and he marched me down to the career centre, literally, and said, like, get signed up. So yeah, done a bit of Marines training, Royal Marines, and then that again sort of gave me another little bit of awakening in sort of what I was doing with my life. It felt like I was wasting my life a little bit. And then, yeah, long story short though, I sort of come back out of the building trade and then went back into health and well-being, health and fitness. So I started working in gyms again. And I think that was another little spark for me to say, right, okay, I can actually fit back into society again. And get a normal job, which has actually been of service to people. And I could start showing people what I've been doing along the way to try and help myself and improve myself. Still getting into sticky positions and situations there at this time in my life. And I don't know what it was. I didn't find that I didn't have that full focus on where I was going. So I think that's where I was sort of coming off the path again and going back into drinking and partying, that sort of stuff. And I think it was around about, I'd say 2018. I went away. I just went away for a little bit to Croatia with a few friends, and I had this sort of like 2 weeks of just sort of no stress, no thinking of anything, and I was around the right people at the right time, and I just believe that something happened on that holiday, that trip. Yeah. And I just came back at sort of with a refreshed mind and a refreshed energy to start sort of improving on myself again. What I noticed was when I was away was that when you are happy within yourself, you can be of service to other people, and you can be the best version of yourself for those people. So I started to implement it, and I started to try it out with, you know, close family and friends, and started to realise that sort of the more selfish you are towards yourself, the better you can be as a friend, as a partner. And it sounds quite like sort of cliche or quite, not quite right, does it? But I think, you know, you've got to work on yourself to be a better person for others as well. So that's where I got to there. And then obviously fell into the holistic path then. I had a lot of injuries coming through this, as you can imagine, sort of through sports and training, etc. So I was on medication for a little bit. So they put me on to sort of, all the, what are they called again now? They're more sedatives, aren't they? They're
This for injuries.
For injuries, yes. So the more sedatives and, you know, morphine-based things and stuff like that. So
quite strong stuff.
Strong stuff I was getting, morphine-based stuff. That's right. So so I don't want to say I was addicted. I was never probably addicted, but I was probably getting too used to taking them on a day-on-day basis and dependent a little bit, yeah. So I noticed the negative effects that was having, and after that, I started going down a holistic path, and I really just wanted to work on trying to get back into nutrition. I went back to university and studied sports therapy, so as a mature student, which was quite humbling, and again, I fell down a rabbit hole of holistic healing, actually in university. One thing university did teach me is how to critically think and laterally think, and also study and research. So I've got to say, it did really help me in that sense, because I was able to sort of immerse myself into what I was really passionate about, which at the time was nutrition. And as soon as I started taking up that and started studying and using it on myself, and then started to use it on my clients and seeing the results, it was amazing. So that, to me, I think was a godsend, the fact that I went back to university and started studying, because
it's all part of the path, weren't it?
Yeah, it must have been. It must have been set out for me.
I think even your nutrition knowledge now is coming into, obviously we'll get into the bar later on, but coming into the things you do there and the medical mushrooms and stuff like that, it's that bit of knowledge, and like you say, learning to research.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the main things I took from uni as well. I was the same. I was a mature student, and doing music as well, because I thought at the time I wanted to be a music therapist.
Yeah.
So going back in, and everyone's there trying to get signed and all going out gigging.
Yeah.
I was in my 30s, and they're looking like,
Yeah.
do you think she's going to make it now?
It's definitely character building, isn't it?
Yeah. And but for me, it taught me as well very good research skills and things. And I just look back now, and the uni stage just needed to happen because it led on to the path I'm on
Get
now.
it.
So it was just it was what it. Have I used a degree at the moment? No, but
But it's taught you some great skills.
yeah, it's the timing, isn't it? It's our timing of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting. So, when you said you fell down like the holistic rabbit hole, so what was your practice at the time, or what was you using most of?
To be honest, it was CBD. I started with that. And the reason being is I'd done a lot of research on the nervous system. And like I said earlier on, I found myself I was in fight and flight quite a bit growing up. And that might be because of the experiences that I've had, or whether it's just my neurological makeup, I'm not sure. But I found myself quite, I'm going to call it stressed, stressed quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, I'd done a lot of research into CBD as it was getting quite prevalent. And I noticed that they've only discovered the endocannabinoid system in 1992. And this is a sort of a nervous, I suppose it's like similar to the nervous system. It's another neurological makeup that we've got. And it's only just been discovered, really, very, very new, 1992, like I say. So I picked up on this and I thought, okay, what's going on here with this? There's obviously massive history with cannabis use over time, as we know, and the benefits towards things like sort of calming, relaxing, pain relief, anti-inflammatory properties, that sort of thing. So began to use CBD. It did have I wouldn't say it had an immediate effect, but it did have an effect over time, as like this compounding effect. It was like, you wouldn't take a little tincture or a gummy or whatever it was and feel the effect right away. But I felt that the sleeps were getting better, the pain was getting a little bit easier to manage. Still day to day going through these little angst and pains and stuff, but it seemed to be getting better.
Yeah.
So
Did you stop your other medication then, or was you doing both?
Not right away. I was doing both.
That's what most people do at the start.
So it's like, I think the last sort of tablet that I was taking was naproxen.
Yeah.
But that was like sort of after like all of the tramadols and the other stuff as well. But it was naproxen and CBD I was using at the same time. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not here to diagnose, treat, or cure. But I don't know if that's the right thing I should have been doing at the time. But however, it worked for me.
Feels for you. What's right
Yeah, it worked for me. And then eventually, it started sort of phasing those out. And along this time, again, I was sort of into nutrition quite big. Like I say, back at university studying, I had a module on designing a nutrition product. And so what I was doing was I was sort of using all these sort of plant extracts at the time as well. And I was sort of topping up on all these different sort of plants and ingredients. And I think eventually I sort of forgot about the medications. I just literally forgot because I was taking so many of these herbs and remedies.
Didn't have time.
Didn't have time to think about it. So, and then like I just found out what worked for me and what was working. And over the period of probably about 6 months, I think I was probably clean of any medications.
How long had you been on it all previously?
I would probably say about 5 years if I was to go back. I started competing properly in about 2012. And then obviously having to get doctors' referrals and things like that for competition. They were still giving me prescription up until about probably 2016-ish.
Yeah. And was you still drinking alcohol at this time or not, or less?
Definitely a lot less.
Yeah.
It was definitely a lot less. I was still drinking though, but there was nowhere to the point where I was, first left school and had that little transition period before the Marines. It was definitely not as much as that.
Yeah, it was just, more gradual.
Yeah.
So with because I know, did you do breath work as well?
Yeah. So that was another big, I suppose.
Did you discover the breath? Was it more?
I think it was a book called there's a guy called James Nesbitt, I think it was. Yeah.
The one we all have to read as rite of passage.
Yeah.
Isn't it just called breath?
Yeah, it's breath, I think. So I think it was just that.
Because I think I always have moments where I'm like, why do I forget that book? Because I think in my head, that can't be right. But I'm sure it's, when Brian told me, one of them, I'm sure it's like, it's just breath.
Yeah. But it was a book that anyway I picked up, and it was like, wow, this is intriguing again. And then it brought me onto Wim Hof, and then I started seeing everybody getting a little bit...
It was around that time, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I sort of got into it, and honestly, the profound effects it had on my performance was amazing. I mean, like exercise-wise, it was unbelievable, to be honest, because I was... In the morning, I was getting up and doing my training in the morning, doing my runs and things like that. In the evening, I'd be doing my conditioning or the boxing training, whatever it was. But what I started to do in the morning was I used to wake up and I used to do this breath work. I used to follow this I had this app, and I used to follow this app. And what I found was when I went out for my runs in the morning, my times were coming down. And I think what it was because I was flooding the body with oxygen in the morning, and I was waking up the muscles, the breathing muscles properly. It was allowing me to get into my runs a little bit quicker and easier. So that to me was an eye-opener, and I thought, wow, okay, if it's doing that to my performance, what else could it do?
Yeah.
And then
quite a short space of time as well.
Yeah, immediate some of
Get
it.
home on. I think I like with you that everything's about research. Around most people, it can be like, oh, I went to a class, I've done this, but you've read it from a book. So you're definitely that research mind, aren't you?
Studied.
But what I love about the breath, like what you've just shared, is I say to people the fact that you can just sit and do this at home on your own. And I went on to obviously start doing mentorships with Brian and things. But at the start, I was just following him online and an app. And I said to people, the profound effect it can have on you, especially if for me at the time, with the place I was in, I wouldn't have been going out to classes and stuff because that would have made me very anxious. But it was literally within 2 weeks, breathwork changed my life, I'd say.
It's pretty immediate.
So it's just the fact that for people struggling at home, I'm like, you can just find apps, go on YouTube, online classes. And I was the same as you. I'd done ice baths for 21 days. I was raising money at the time for a charity. And suddenly in the gym, I looked down and I was like, there's a minute off my 5K. And then I was lifting a bit heavier. And then the guy, Adam, who I'd done breath work with at the time, I was like, is that it's to do with the ice baths? Because you're breathing before you get in. The ice bath are recovering your muscles. So I was doing it more for my mental health and spiritual, but then I started to notice the performance.
Well, I had done it the opposite way around. I was the performance, and then I went into the spiritual side. It sort of got me into the meditative place that I needed to be when I was breathing. So
that's why it's quite interesting to hear it the other way around, because it wasn't anything I ever used for performance at the time.
Yeah.
So you found like your running was getting faster.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
And then is that when you went into the more spiritual side of it then?
I'd probably say I got a bit more spiritual then, yeah. I think when I was sort of going down the sort of breath route and stuff like that, I was also doing a bit of stretching mobility with yoga and things like that. And what I noticed was within all of this, like it's called pranayama, isn't it, in yoga, the breath. I noticed that it's all attached to sort of the life cycle. The breath is the life cycle. So I was, just so interested into sort of how pranayama's been around for so long and people have done all this sort of stuff. And where did it originate from? Like, who are the gurus in this breath space? So I went down again, another rabbit hole. It seems like a few rabbit holes in this story.
I just pictured you for 3 years with books.
Yeah.
It's how you learn now. I'm quite visual. But I do love a book. But you went another rabbit hole.
So and then another one, and then I sort of got a little bit more spiritual with it.
Which is another rabbit hole.
It's another one in itself. But, it's all positive stuff.
Yeah.
So, and then, again, I just found myself meditating a lot more. And I started getting into the Tao, the Chinese philosophy of the Tao, which is all about calm, peace and balance and all that sort of stuff. It's the guy called Lao Tzu I got into. So, I started getting into that side of it. And again, it's just had profound positive effects on me. So,
So when did you meet the guys who you do the bar with?
Yeah, so I met
know
with
each other before.
So the guys with the bar, I was going around the wellness festivals and doing the holistic therapies and things like this, and I was really intrigued about trying to find out where is all of these people, where is everybody going in this wellness space? What's happening? And there was a couple of wellness festivals that were about. I know there's a lot more now. It seems to be a lot more now, but back then there wasn't many. And I met, it was Ammon first, who's the owner of the bar, the proprietor of the bar.
Yeah.
And he was on this wellness path himself. He was going through a lot of transitions and, again, positive effects he was having from some of the stuff we just spoke about.
Yeah.
So we became friends. We shared a few times where we went and done some breath work together, some yoga together, some ice baths and things like that. Became friends, started going to some festivals together, and then we bumped into our other partner, who was Keith. He was on the festival circuit at the time doing an alcohol-free bar. And it's just great energy between us all. And we kept in touch. Somehow or another, we ended up on another festival and bumping into each other. All went there separately.
All planned.
Yeah, of course.
Not by yous, but yeah.
Yeah, the divine.
Yeah.
And I think from there, it was a case of, we had this chat about the bar that Ammon had, and we took on a risky project of bringing it to Birmingham, the mobile bar to Birmingham, but introducing a nutritional aspect as well. So it wasn't just your typical alcohol-free bar. It was an alcohol-free bar that's powered by plants and that improves vitality and health. Yeah. That was the idea.
So at the time, did Armin just have this? Was that idea already there, but just a portable bar? Little Earth or something?
No, so it was more Keith's bar, I'd say. He was the one that had the mobile alcohol-free, and
sort of started the concept.
Yeah, and then I had the nutrition side, and then Ammon had the premises, I suppose. So the three of us sort of brought it all together.
Have you done it as a CIC?
Yeah, so we set up as a CIC, and purposely because we know that in Birmingham City Centre itself, they've got there's a massive alcohol and drug abuse issue there. I think it's one of the highest statistics in the UK. So for us, it was, we're looking to make an impact, and we're looking to try and share our knowledge and experiences to show people there's better ways to live, and there's also healthier options out there. Yeah. And that human connection you don't get when you're under the influence of alcohol. Yeah. I'm sorry, you don't.
Yeah, you don't. And I think what the big difference is with you guys is, we'll talk about a couple of the beers you've got actually, is I work in a rehab, and I've worked around recovery for a long time. Right. And of course there's options when you go in bars and restaurants for non-alcohol beer. But a lot of time it would actually be a little bit advised against because of the negative impact it can bring. Because people will sit and after a while they might switch that non-alcohol beer because it just looks like a bottle for a normal one and get away with it. And it's not about the non-alcoholic beer, it's the atmosphere you're in and who you're around. Yeah. So it becomes... For me, when I first stopped drinking, it became very isolating because at first I thought if you don't see anyone, you don't do any bad habits, but that wasn't great either. And I have a lot of people that I work with will say, we don't know what we're going to do when we leave here. And actually a lot of them are always Midlands based, so I tell them about Little Earth and Exhale. But what you guys do, it's not just a case that you buy in just a 0% beer. There's actually facts to it that are going to spiritually help you. It's elixirs. It's not just your average non-alcohol cocktail. It's conscious drinking and a conscious bar, not just non-alcoholic bar. And I think you go in there, the place is cleansed, you smell the sage, you smell the incense. I mean, we always laugh when we open the door, to step out, the energy drops and we're like, oh, back to real life. But that's little safe havens there for a little bit. And it's down to you guys as well. I think you've not just got anyone behind the bar, you've been through spiritual journeys. So you're not just there like this is a business. Yeah. And just for yous to know, you definitely feel that. That's why we always felt comfortable in there, because yous are working on yourselves.
Thank you.
So it's not to judge anyone that's drinking or still drinking. It's took me a long time to get that habit down. But I wouldn't want to go into a bar like that and be someone serving me a non-alcoholic beer that's still going out drinking every weekend, or not looking at their stuff. Yeah. So that comes across in the energy and atmosphere 100%. Of the place. And for me, I would just like people to know that are in recovery, like you say, or like yourself, looking for that connection because you need to find your people. And you try
100%.
as it's lonely.
100%.
And we've met people in Excel Bar at Little Earth that are now were staying at my house last week for the first festival we put on, because we found.
That's
so I
brilliant.
say to people, it's not lonely when you change your lifestyle like this or you're in recovery, but it's one of them seek and you will find. You have got to get uncomfortable and take yourself these places.
100%.
I went to many retreats on my own before I found
Yes,
everyone. But they do, like yourselves, use the divine timing. They send people in. They remove people, but they send people in. But I would say to people, bro, when you actually look, I said, New Year's Day, the guys at my work were like, what, are you going to a party New Year's Day? Was it the Soul Rev?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, there'll be hundreds of people in there. There's a party at Excel New. They were like, oh, right. I said, there is a world out
Couldn't
there for
believe
you.
it. Yeah.
But you've got to go
You've
looking
got to step into it.
sometimes. Or
Yeah.
like say, we'll do podcasts like this, get you on. So hopefully people hear. But I think what you guys do, like I say, it's not just we're serving you a non-alcoholic cocktail, is it? You're making elixirs and...
Well, this is it. I mean, the stuff that we use, it's scientifically backed as well. So we like to try and use, I like the quote, beers with benefits at the moment.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing there. But we've also got the cocktails, like you say, which we're including extracts from different plants that have got scientific evidence and backing to suggest that they improve either vitality or health. There's these words that are going around at the moment, nootropics, adaptogens, which I'm in favour of, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Nootropic is something that probably boosts the mind and clears the mind and helps the mental state. And an adaptogen is something that calms the body, relaxes the body and puts it back into homeostasis. So we're using all of those sort of ingredients that, again, backed by science. You can't deny it. It's there.
Yeah.
And what I find is as well, like going back to your story about finding safe spaces and things like that, I think once people know that they're welcome into a space and they don't need to feel pressured into using or buying alcohol, and that there's just a wide range of alcohol-free drinks that actually serve benefits,
Yeah.
I think people will be more relaxed about coming into bar spaces and things like that, because, like you say, over time and tradition, the sort of bar area has always been, alcohol-fueled, and people will sort of change in that.
Yeah.
You know,
walk in the toilet and someone's doing something.
yeah, and it doesn't feel safe. And like you say, for people who are on the recovery path, it's not safe for them. So hence why I think more spaces like Exhale need to be around.
Yeah.
And I think you will find there will be more popping up. I think you will.
I think it's more people getting out their comfort zones of it. Again, we put on our first Soul Space Sober Conscious event last week in a chapel here, and there was a few people come along that were new to conscious events or the spiritual path, and I think they had a different idea in their head of what it was going to be there. Yeah. So sometimes people just need to come and see. Everyone's quite normal. We're not. So I think it's more a lot of the time for people. They might know it's there, but there might be a bit of nerves around it.
I think so.
Because alcohol gives us confidence, be it fake confidence.
It's a bit of
But again, that's why you try and encourage people, because like what you said earlier, your connections when you put alcohol down become real.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I was first not drinking, you thinking, oh, how am I going to go on a date sober? How am I going to... And then all these things actually made me feel quite sad, because I thought...
Stressed again.
I've never been on a date sober. That's actually really sad.
Yeah.
Because how do we even know our connections are real?
This is it.
It's so many friendships are built on connections from nights out, connections from sitting in the kitchen telling someone your life story.
Yeah.
Which, in a way, served a purpose for me, because had them days have not happened, and some of your days, you wouldn't be relatable right now. And you wouldn't quite get what other people are going through. So it's a bit rite of passage, I think.
Yeah, I get that.
But it did make me feel a little bit sad when you look back. That I thought, I spoke to Amani the other day, because we're going to be doing a little soul space slot at the Soul Revolution Festival. Nice. And I was telling her the story how I'd never danced sober until I'd been to Exhale Bar and Little Earth, and pretty much last year, that was my first festival last year, Soul Rev, first Wellbeing Festival. And she actually said, oh, that really hurts my heart. And I said, yeah, there's loads of women I work with that have never danced sober. And she was like, oh, that's actually really sad. And I said, it is, but we don't, when you don't feel safe, it's funny how we turn to these negative habits when we don't feel safe.
Yeah.
So finding somewhere like Exhale for me was quite like life changing to have that safe space.
Yeah.
And be able to dance and have a giggle with you guys, and usual all dance behind the
Yeah,
bar.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like I say to people, it sounds cheesy, but soul family is a real thing.
Yeah,
And
it is.
it does feel like that when you're in there. I mean, we sent Keith to go and get chicken wings and cauliflower wings
Yeah,
and
it's
everything.
it's all part of the
So
family,
yeah, it's brilliant. So out of interest more with some of the stuff you do there, have you got somewhere in the back where you make all these things?
Believe it or not, yeah, we've got a micro farm in the back. So we're growing functional mushrooms. When I tell everybody we're growing mushrooms, it's always that laugh. Oh, you funny mushrooms.
Yeah, yeah.
No, we're just doing functional mushrooms.
Yeah.
Lion's mane, oyster, reishi, that sort of stuff. So
You grow all them in the back.
yeah. So what we'd like to do, it's only a micro farm at the moment. We'd like
Yeah.
to expand the farm into sort of maybe doing, it's a closed loop cultivation circuit, the system that I've noticed, where you can use the gases from mushrooms to grow vegetation and vegetables. So I'd love to be able to expand the farm to do a bit more, but there's a lot of work that goes into it.
Do food and things
and
like
food, yeah. I mean, healthy foods, and we've got some great mushroom burgers, mushroom soups that we do every, So I think it'd be nice to have the sort of cafe side with the
that. Yeah, I think
the
so.
drink
With
side
that.
as well.
So, if you didn't mind, just for sort of people listening, could you sort of give any benefits or a little bit more knowledge on all the functional mushrooms,
sure,
and like why you use them ones? Like we spoke about, reishi's quite calming and things like that. So,
Well, that's been my my little go-to, my secret weapon for a while for a good night's sleep. So reishi mushroom in Chinese medicine used to be called the immortal mushroom. And they used to use it for all healing properties and calming, soothing. And yeah, so again, scientists caught up a little bit and started to study this beautiful mushroom. And it seems to have a lot of polyphenols and beta-glucans that can really help with some real serious health conditions. Now, again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not
yeah,
an
no,
explanatory or cure, but
opinions, yeah,
there is research out there. So if you just put reishi mushroom in Google, I'm sure you'll get a load come up.
yeah,
And then the other one was lion's mane that we're particularly keen on. And the mushroom there is because the research is out again. It's just phenomenal what it can do for brain health.
yeah,
So replace it all. It sort of repairs the axons and the nerves within the brain so that you can get more neurogenesis, neuroplasticity, more neural brain growth,
yeah.
and anti-inflammatory properties as well, which I was really sort of, I was all over it because I was getting so many head injuries and my brain felt like it was throbbing constantly.
Yeah.
I was trying to find something that was quite therapeutic to use and natural that would help with that, and lion's mane seemed to do it.
Yeah.
It really helped me, really did.
So how do you have these in your daily?
In my daily routine, I'll take about 1,000 milligram a day.
Yeah.
Dr. Huberman, if you look at Dr. Andrew Huberman, and he's done quite a few studies into lion's mane and nerve growth within the brain. He recommends 1,000 to 1,500 milligram a day. I use around about 1,000, and I take that in tincture form. I'll take that through drinks. I'll take that in raw form.
I'd like to have more of the raw form, I
Yeah.
think.
There's not enough people growing it actually.
Yeah, because is it more to do with how long it sort of lasts? When I've looked, I could get it dried. I'd love to just be using the whole ones in the soups and stuff, but I didn't know why it didn't seem to be that common.
Yeah,
to
I think shelf life, I think it keeps for about 7 to 10 days within the fridge. So they're pretty much the same as most mushrooms, but it's the growing stages that takes a little bit longer, and they're a bit more of a delicate mushroom to work with.
Yeah,
So I think that's probably why there's not many people doing it.
yeah. But they're the two. Did you say there's a third one
Yeah.
you grow, or is it them two?
So we do the oyster mushroom as well, the edible
Yeah.
oyster mushrooms, and we've got a friend who actually packets these up into burgers, oyster mushroom burgers.
Yeah,
And they're amazing, honestly. They're just like, they taste like the real thing, like real burger would. And there's soup like high in iron and vitamin mineral content, protein even. So yeah, super nutritious, super
Yeah.
tasty.
yeah. And they definitely, the calming effects. When I had reishi as a powder and a tea at night, it definitely works.
Definitely.
For calming.
It's actually funny because I went to list our product onto Amazon the other day. We managed to get our drinks on and a couple of the other products we got, but when we listed the reishi mushroom, they actually knocked it back and said we're not allowed to promote certain strains of mushroom. And I was thinking, is it because there's so much therapeutic benefit to it that
Yeah.
we're not allowing it to be sold
Yeah.
on? I don't know.
I think so, because there's a lot. I work with cacao a lot, which
Another
you
good
do
one.
cacao as
Yeah,
well, don't
yeah.
you? Well, obviously you serve it in the bar, but
Yeah.
does Exhale like nutrition?
We
do
have got
cacao?
a white labelled product.
Yeah, the same as myself.
Yeah.
It's just one I always like to
Yeah,
use, mainly because it was
That's it.
pre-grounded and I'm lazy. But
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it's a really good
Those
one.
big chunks are quite hard to pick up.
It's pre-grounded, but yeah, I've used a mixture of ones. But again, I say to people the proofs in it. Again, I'm very careful because anyone coming off antidepressants, anything like that, I'm
Yes.
not a doctor. You do that with your doctor. What I provide is stuff I feel can benefit that journey, or that's helped me. I can only tell, like yourself, I can only tell people what helped for me and my anxiety. It might help you,
Exactly.
same. So for me, with cacao, I just find it a shame that it's not spoke about enough, so people don't know it's there. So obviously I had a lady say to me, well, if this could help me premenopausal, or she couldn't believe how much it had helped her anxiety, and she eventually used it to gradually come off her antidepressants. And she just said, but why for 10 years has this never been told to me? And I said, well, it's not going to be. And also I said, in your doctor's defence also, they don't know either. So we all they've been trained and they've got their beliefs. So they probably don't know either, some of them. So it's not like always a massive conspiracy. And but it proves to you how real cacao is, and because you can't actually use it while you're on your antidepressants because it raises the serotonin levels too high.
That's right, yeah.
So I said to people, that just shows you how much it does the same thing. Else, why couldn't you take them both? But you advise not to because they will do the same thing and it can actually raise it too high. So what a lot of people do is they'll have, like you said earlier, gradually with the CBD, they'll have their antidepressants one day and the next day cacao. One day and do it like that. So again, I always say to people, go and work with your doctors on coming off it safely and take their advice on.
That's it, yeah.
But you do sometimes need that replacement, and that's where all this stuff comes in. But people need to know it's there.
This is it. I still get people coming to the bar and asking what cacao is, which is it's okay for me. I get to talk about it, and I love talking about it.
Yeah, I love talking about cacao.
And it just makes me think, where has all the cacao gone in the modern day chocolate bars nowadays? Because you look at the percentage of cacao and there's like probably 1 or 2% in there.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, the milk tray man must have sold me up the road many years ago, because I used to watch those adverts and think chocolate was the best thing ever.
Yeah. And that's why when people taste it, said it don't taste like chocolate. And I went, yeah, because the chocolate you're eating isn't actually cacao.
It's synthetic.
The sugar and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of places obviously caught on now, like your average shops selling cacao powder. And I'm like, no, please look for the word in ceremonial. Please look for, because otherwise, you're not going to get all the benefits.
No,
but again, it was, Liam helped a lot. People have either not heard of cacao or they say, oh, the Dragon's Den man.
That's him. Full power.
Yeah, and I said, I'm glad that, and I said, Liam, it's been around ages, but him going on there, it was great for me because suddenly everyone was believing me. And I said to my friend, I said, for 3 years,
I've been telling
you about cacao for your anxiety.
Yeah.
And then Liam goes on and she rang me and went, do you still do any of that cacao stuff, Kim?
No, we're sold out.
But they were like, again, no, like you said earlier, it's the only thing is this won't be like 1 cup of cacao and you feel better.
Yeah, no.
And I explain to people, the best way I can describe it is it might take a little bit longer than a pill or grabbing a drink or grabbing a substance. But it's lifelong lasting as long as you keep working with these things. There was no good. There was points where I was trying all these different things and still going out drinking every weekend and moaning why nothing was changing. But it was still, it was gradually, I remember I had my first Cambo and I was good for about 2 weeks, then went back to the drink and going, oh, now it's not working. No, you're not working.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was still, it's gradual, isn't it? My habits started to get slightly better until I was ready to finally be like, no.
Yeah.
But I say to people, you've got to work with them. any medicine, but it will be something, you'll have these profound moments and changes that will last forever.
100%.
But cacao, you know, at first sometimes it can feel like it's getting a little bit, because it'll bring the emotions to the surface. So I remember my first week, an advert on the telly, I was like, it was all coming out. But then second, third week, the energy coming in, just wanted to be out walking. Again, cacao helped with my training.
Yeah, same. I mean, I think it has vasodilation benefits, which opens up the blood vessels to allow more oxygen to travel. So yeah, I think you probably would have experienced it. Yeah.
Definitely helps. So for you guys, a little bit more, what's the plans at the moment, or what would you like to happen?
I mean, for us, we're just still gathering a lot of data at the bar and finding out sort of what's working well there. For the nutrition side of things, we're just in development of constantly developing new products. We've got a load that we want to try and bring out to add to the range. So that's what we'll be doing over the next few months there. And again, just trying to sort of share our experiences with as many people as we can to try and form an alliance. I don't want to say a movement, because it sounds quite political.
Yeah.
But you know, form an alliance of some sort where people can trust what we're saying, trust what we're doing. Community, all that sort of stuff. And then once we've got, you know, a big enough audience, we can think about trying to branch out, move out further afield, go to sort of different cities, different places.
Yeah.
And that's the idea, you know, share the experience.
So at the moment, with your opening, so if people want to know what's going on, because you changed it at the moment, you're open when the events are on, aren't you?
Yeah. So it's an event space only at the moment. We would love to go back to full-time operations. So that is hopefully...
With the food, bring the food, I think that will help that. But of course, there's time planning in that. But.
Yeah, but that's the plan. We'd love to get food and drink alongside healthy foods that improve health and vitality, that can actually do things for you. And that's it, you know. I think there's as we move on now into this AI world that we're going into, people will need more of this sort of stuff, because at the moment we haven't got anything. There's nowhere for people to go. And I think the more we have that sort of connective community together, the more strength in numbers becomes, and you know, the louder the voice we have as a unity.
Yeah,
you know,
it's really important, because I think, like you say, to have that safe space for people is important.
Yeah.
To let people know as well that, you know, your life, it's definitely not boring without alcohol.
Definitely not. I mean, going back to your story as well, it's like, you know, you said you felt a little bit sad and things like that. For anybody who's listening to this, who feels that they're in that position now, there is always behind every dark night a bright day.
Yeah.
And you can step into whatever you feel like doing. It's your choice what you put into your mouth. It's your choice of actions you take.
Yeah.
So make sure you choose the right things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and the right people as well.
And the right people. I mean, I found as soon as I put myself around the right energy, I was a lot more vibrant. I had a lot more energy myself internally. Yeah. And I just felt better. It's just, you know, sometimes you have to get rid of the bad baggage.
Yeah.
To be able to move up the hill a little bit.
Because that's what I mean. Sometimes, like you say, with energy-wise, I was joking about, but it's true when you're opening and closing the door in the bar. So sometimes just popping in there, whether you're coming on your own or not, anyone even just being in there and sitting, observing that energy, you know, when there's an event on, you have... I mean, what's some of the ones you have on? Because you do, like, there's open mic styles,
we do,
poetry,
like, so
painting.
many. There's arts, there's, like you say, poetry, open mic. We've got, like, sort of dancey, housey nights where we got open DJ decks and things like that. So it's trying to bring in a little bit of normality to something, to something that's probably a little bit more... it's so different to anything else that's been around at the moment, but we're trying to show people that you can do it on another level, you know, without being intoxicated, I suppose.
Yeah, and it's one of them things, isn't it? Once you've done it once or twice, each time it gets easier.
It's so much easier, honestly. Like you said, again, going out on your own to these places, that must have been so hard for you.
Yeah.
To go there on your own, but after one or two, you was probably
you're all right.
Sailing.
And I would always laugh. I think my first event at Little Earth, so the XL bar was there. You'd got the portable one.
Yeah.
I was very much on the edge of the dance floor. Me and my friend always jokes. They were always going, "Oh, Kim's in," but she's not in yet.
Not in.
And I was laughing because it was the first time I'd met Brian face to face there. So like it was a big thing when I met him and got to share how much he helped me. And then I decided to go on the mentorship with him that night.
Great guy.
It's funny. I'd asked when we spoke about time, and I'd asked the universe, first and told I needed a teacher and a mentor.
Okay.
And not only did I walk into Little Earth and he was there, but I come in and you know the yurt they've got
Yeah.
there, like
Yeah.
for anyone that's not been to Little Earth, there's a big dome, isn't there, where
Yeah.
on
Beautiful
them
dome.
nights the DJing and partying happens. On
Yeah.
other nights it's yoga, sound baths,
Yeah,
everything. And then they've got like a mini little, I always call it like the Lord of the Rings yurt.
Okay.
But it was quite early on when we got there, and I opened the yurt because I was looking for the toilet. As I opened it, Brian sat there on his own with his headphones in, obviously meditating. So I'm going to my mate walking around, just feel like I need a teacher and a mentor. I opened the door and Brian was sat there and me and my mate were howling. She went, there's your answer.
Synchronicities again, is it?
I was telling him later on, we laughed and I said, I just feel like I need to do shadow work more. And he went, my course I'm starting this week's called Beyond the Shadows. I went, oh, okay.
Oh my gosh.
I get it. So we went with it. But I remember Brian and everyone all jumping in the middle, you know, dancing free. And I was on the edge like, and Sarah was going, come on, baby girl. And I was like, oh, not quite yet. I was sort of hovering by the bar with you guys. But the next event, I went, right, I'm in. And I was in the middle.
The fear's gone.
So I say to people, it doesn't happen overnight.
No,
You start going, and I just say to people, just start. Any spiritual journeys, like what happened to you in Croatia, to me, that was, you know, you haven't even gone away to a spiritual retreat. No. I feel all you've done there was slow down.
Yeah, I think that's what
hear your soul and hear yourself.
I think you're right.
It's just that inner knowing.
Yeah.
There was just a little nudge that there's more here. And then, like, for yourself, you start researching.
Yeah.
For me, I went on Instagram and I was doing Brian's videos he'd done back in lockdown, you know, just off Instagram videos. But that was the start.
Yeah.
I didn't think then I would be a breathwork coach.
No,
So I said to people, same with the cacao, the lion's mane, just start.
Yeah.
And then as time goes on, people will see, I think.
You'll see, yeah.
So with the summer, what's your guys' plans? Are you doing Soul Rev? Are you doing festivals?
Yeah, we'll be at Soul Rev. So Soul Revolution, I think we'll be going there with the bar again. And there is a couple of other festivals that are booked up. We've got a few community things that are coming up as well.
Yeah.
Interfaith festival, which is going to be quite interesting.
Where's that one?
That one is in Paddington in London.
Okay.
It's an interfaith festival that they're holding down there, which is it's a sort of first one for us. So we'll go and explore and hopefully bring some value to those guys down there. But you know, for us again as a new entity and a new concept coming forwards, it's so it's rewarding to see so many people adopting it and taking it on. So it's.
And like you say, it's that people are actually meeting other people in your space and then expanding off.
We're giving people a chance to open up naturally. And I think, again, talking about the stories that we've both been through, you have that slight edgy feeling and nervousness and fear when you are stepping into something new. And again, for anybody who does listen to this, you know, this is totally normal. You know, anxiety and stress when you're doing anything new is going to be normal. How I try and evaluate that is I look at stress now as not just anxiety or anything like that. I find excitement in it. And I try and flip it on its head a little bit, and I try and find a little bit of excitement in it. And wherever that shows itself, I'll just go all in on that. Yeah. And try and flip the energy a little bit on it.
Yeah. So exactly. Funny enough, we had that exact conversation in the rehab the other day with some people that were leaving. I said, flip it. Think about all the excitement of people you haven't met yet. The people you're going to meet, relationships you're going to have, like what could my purpose, what am I going to discover?
That is it.
Like I said, when I go into like my shadow work or anything now, I'm like, come on, this is a challenge. I'm going to learn about myself.
Honestly, that's where the growth is.
Yeah,
honestly.
rather than fear it. But I feel what's important as well, just to touch on a little bit, not just for anyone that's new coming into, because I think we spoke a lot about people using the bar and coming in that are new. Yeah. But I think what's also the flip side of that is people that are facilitators, that are doing this work, are sometimes you stay in the darkness too much, the seriousness of, for me, there were certain points where, again, exhale, and I feel Little Earth and my friendship with Sarah was sent all in at the right time because I was too much in the darkness of it all. So I was going through a grief and anxiety that it was like, I thought, if I'm not in an ice bath every day, this is coming back, you know. So I think, and I see a lot of facilitators, including myself, sometimes you're going into that burnout phase.
Yes, yeah.
You're not expressing, like, when are you letting your hair down?
Yeah, yeah.
When are you socialising, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's important for all. Do you feel that for you?
Definitely,
even for you?
yeah. Yeah,
You're working
definitely.
in this a lot.
Yeah, because you are taking on a lot as well. And it's how you keep that balance between being of service, but also, again, looking after yourself. And it goes back to what I said right at the start. I think you've got to be a bit selfish to yourself, or for yourself, to be of service for anybody else. So, you know, if I do feel that something's getting a little bit too much for me, then I will take myself away and start working on my non-negotiables, let's say, which is the breath work, the ice baths, the, you know, healthy nutrition, that sort of stuff. But it's making sure that you're functioning optimally so that you're able to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
Nutrition, as you probably know, I'm all over it. You know, and I think if you use nutrition, exercise, and all these natural modalities, walking in the parks and going out for some fresh air, putting your feet on the ground and earthing, stuff like this, it's all stuff that can benefit you in the long run. And I think as facilitators, we forget sometimes.
Forget the basics.
The basics are there, and it's all accessible as well, which I found was really interesting, that all this stuff is so accessible, so easy to sort of start doing. You know, like breathing, you don't need any equipment. You just need to breathe. Yeah. You know, going outside and walking in the park doesn't take much.
Yeah,
as long as it's
cheaper, you can lose your shoes.
So, you know, there's all these things that are so accessible that we just forget about. But yeah, going back to it, I think, it's just all about balancing. And when we are sort of being in service, it's just being conscious that we're trying to make ourselves be the best version, to be able to serve people in the best way we can.
Yeah.
That's what I feel.
It's going back to remembering, like, say, what helped us at the start.
Exactly.
You can start to forget that. So, yeah, I think it's important as well for other facilitators and people to be coming to things like Soul Rev and coming to the Excel Bar for their nights out and meetups, and, you know, having monthly meetups there and things like that could be nice. I think, we should try and look into that, because I've said about having a women's circle, but for women that are in service. Just have a chat and do a bit of cacao, do some healing on each other and things like that. So, I mean, there's loads of ideas, isn't there? I think for you guys at the moment, what's needed is just, you know, people following you and popping in when the events are on.
Doing,
because the more everyone's coming over, the more it can get to, we can open every day, or we can put more stuff on.
That's it.
So I think a lot of the times we can all sit very easy moaning about what's not out there, but sometimes there's nights on and then people find excuses not to come. So you're like, okay, we put it on, come. So I think a lot of it for people, like you say, is little bits of nerves. So I think it's just important, like you say, for people to realise that it's nothing that we haven't felt going to an event on our own.
We are all humans. We are all flawed. We've all got emotions and feelings. It's how we manage it. This is it. You know, I feel like there is no perfect human being out there. Nobody is perfect. Just ride with it, and those emotions that come, they will go.
And they pass, they go, but it's that you know, thing. They only go once you get out of that comfort zone. We always say it, don't we? There's comfort zone, fear zone, then growth.
Yes.
And you can't skip them.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, it's not mine, but I wish it was.
No, it's good.
But it was in some book I read.
Some research.
Or it's probably Brian's. I use a lot of stuff, and I'm like, I'm sure that was Brian's, but, you know, that's why I chose him.
No, it's good. I totally get it.
It's true, isn't it? And I that simple analogy, though, I used that so many times in my own head when I was talking myself out of going somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, no, this is how you get
push through it.
Yeah. And when you start to have them little divine, like, timing moments or
synchronicities and stuff like that. Yeah,
that encourages you then.
It just boosts you, doesn't it?
because you not going to that wellness festival,
Yeah,
there's no exhale
I
bar.
wouldn't have met these guys, no.
Because you wouldn't have met. You
Nope.
would have gone and done whatever you
I
needed
took myself
to
there
do.
on my own,
Yeah.
fearful, anxious,
Yeah.
didn't know who I was going to meet.
And next minute you're in a
Next
bar
minute-
in
I don't
Birmingham
know how
cooking
it's
up lion's mane.
I don't know how it's happened.
Now you're on a podcasting comedy.
Yeah, am I? But it's all part of the journey, isn't it?
But it's just because you started.
Yeah.
And that's what I say to
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
Don't try and overthink it too much. Just start. What we'll do today with the podcast as well, we'll pop all the details below of Excel
Sure,
bars.
yeah.
People
Thank
can
you.
reach out to you guys, see what's going on. Festivals, like I say, this is a good time. I always think if you're going to pick a time to start your spiritual journey, go for it in the summer.
Yes. Very good.
Not in the
Very
dark
good
nights of the
advice.
winter. And because the dark nights of the soul come as it is, so you
Very
might as well
good.
deal with it in the summer. We all have a lot of fun in the summer, don't
Yeah,
we?
yeah, yeah.
And then the inner work comes in the winter. So I always
Yes.
say to people, just a simple coming to an event is, or even just popping over to the bar when something's on and just have a little...
Have a little nose in
Yeah.
and see how it
and,
feels. Yeah.
they'll send the people in for you. Before you know it, they'll get there, won't they?
That's it.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Roy. That's just an hour.
Was that an hour?
Yeah.
That has flown.
I know.
Absolutely
That's where
flown.
it's at. But yeah, thanks for coming on.
I really appreciate it, honestly, and the work you're doing, it's amazing. So just keep up doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think now we're in a time where people are sort of needing this stuff more and more.
Yeah.
And the more people that can be out there and voicing this stuff that's actually benefited us ourselves,
Yeah.
I think the better, the more people will take it on, and
And the more collaborations, the more
Yeah.
support. 'Cause we all need to support each other as well. There's no
yeah.
competition in this.
no, this isn't competition. No,
It's all collaboration and sharing, because no matter what we all do, the one thing it should all be about is you're just trying to give out love to people and help
yeah,
people.
this is it.
That's all we're doing. Everything should come from
From the heart.
no ego, and giving out love. So whether it's breath work, non-alcohol bar as a safe space, yoga, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't
So
matter.
I always say to people, we should all just be working, because the ideas and concepts may be different,
Yeah.
but it's all the same end goal.
All the same. We should look at indigenous cultures as well a little bit and think at how are they doing it? Because I think it will serve us well in this world that we're in now, the Western world that is getting so occupied by technologies, and we're all so connected but then so separated as well at the same time. But some of these indigenous cultures, they've got some practices that they use and they just appreciate life so much, and it's life that they respect death as well also, and there's that no fear within this community, and everybody's together and they're helping each other and they're looking after each other, and I think that's what we're missing at the moment in society.
And that's why there's a couple of things when we met the tribe, obviously at Little Earth, they're in a constant state of gratitude. It just comes natural to them, doesn't it? I think when you watch. And they spoke about, again, like to say, we don't stay in the darkness too long. If we had a happy circle, and I went to lay down longer, and they were like, no, up,
Right.
like dance. Like, you've had your release, but let's go and bring it back to the joy.
Joy,
And
it's all joy.
they said we're in a constant joy state. When we go through stuff, we go through it together. But then we will honour people's death, we will celebrate them, we will dance, we will move. If someone in the tribe is suffering, we sit around the fire and we talk it out until we've found a solution together.
And again, this is another conversation I had in the bar the other day with somebody, how, before we all started getting divided and whatnot, that we all used to come together and we used to just like bounce ideas off each other, get plans together, and like, how can we help this person? How can we do that person as a community? And I think because of alcohol and drug misuse and things like that now in society, we've all started to go our own little ways, and we've just forgot that sort of at the essence of it all, it's a communal effort that makes things a little bit better and more
we
easier.
always say it. They always say it in recovery a lot. Your addiction feeds off isolation, so recovery has to be the opposite. It has to be connection.
Right, I love that.
There's a video. I'll show it you afterwards. It's a good thing to look at because you like the research, and it's called Rat Park.
Okay.
And it's
Oh, is that where they're feeding the rats certain drugs?
when it's on its own, and it
then
doesn't
when
go near the water bottle.
But when they put it in a group with...
with people and
They
play
don't wanna
it,
know, do they?
doesn't touch the drugs.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
So exhale, is the Birmingham Rat Park.
That's it. All for benefits and positivity. Yeah.
But it is a connection. But when you're facing all this stuff on your own and there isn't safe spaces, or you don't know these safe spaces exist, it's very easy to go back to the bad habits.
100%.
Because you're isolated.
And don't be afraid or don't be shy to speak to somebody. I mean, over my years now of being on this earth, I've lost a lot of friends. Couple of suicides and stuff like this. And the reason being is they was isolated. They were doing it to themselves. And yeah, if there was just a talk to somebody, I think, you know, they might still be here now.
Yeah.
So, you know, I always say to people, don't be shy, don't be afraid. If you're going to, you know, if you need to talk. But yeah, don't do it alone. If you feel like it's getting too much, don't do it alone.
And like you say, reach will pop our pages on, and people can all, you know, might not be able to respond straight away, but if people want to say, when's these events? I feel a bit lonely. Someone will get back to them. Like, I'm happy to share where all the events are and stuff like that. If people are feeling lonely, they just come along to one of these event nights on their own, and you will, like you say, the bar staff, you all come out dancing with us and having a laugh. They can sit at the bar and have a chat.
Just have a chat.
Yeah.
You know, and it's nice to see that some people come to the bar just for that purpose, just to sort of get out the house and have a chat.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're doing, you know, a bit of service there for those people.
Yeah, we need human connection.
Yeah.
We're all animals at the end of the day. It's packs. It's supposed to be as a community together. Yeah. We've just forgot that. And then just on top of that, we're supposed to be using plants.
Yeah,
our healing.
Not the synthetic makeups that we've got.
And
now.
even a lot of the stuff that is gone the bad way. It's like the tribe said to me, because the Western world, you don't know how you're supposed to use it. Like he said, cannabis is not supposed to be burnt.
No, you're right.
So obviously, when people are smoking it, it is going to bring on negative effects, because that's not what the plant was.
And when you
made
mix it with nicotine, of course, as well.
You know, they said, because people sometimes argue back when we're talking about lion's mane or different. Well, you know, cocaine's a plant, so you're trying to say that's good for you. And I've had all these comments, and it's okay. But like I said, even when I spoke to the tribe around that, they said, yeah, but it was supposed to be used to numb people so we could operate.
That's right. That's right.
So there was, it was only the Western world come and got it and turned it into something negative. Yeah. We would never use it for that.
Yeah.
You know, so when people see videos around happy, and they'll be like, oh, you're putting something up your nose. And I'm like, it's not the tribes or medicine's fault that we've made something putting up our nose a negative. They don't know anything about that there.
It's perception, isn't it?
Yeah, so...
perception and perspective are two crazy things as well, so I've got to understand.
So I think for you guys, it's not easy being the one that goes against the grain and puts that stuff out there. So, yeah, I just want to thank you as well.
Thank you, honestly. Thank you.
For us all, for our little Midlands community, and further, hopefully.
Hopefully further, nationwide.
Yeah.